Welcome to the Shields on Hoops podcast. We're bringing you a twofer today. We're going to talk about the dreadful performance against Virginia, and then we're also going to talk about Cornell. So we both had a 24/48 hours to kind of process and look at some things. If you follow my account on Twitter or the newsletter, then you kind of know what my thoughts were in general. It was kind of all my worst fears into one happened for the game, and it all kind of came to happen in reality. So we'll talk a little about that more later. I'm with Nick Peckham, co-host. As always, Nick, we're going to give you the floor to start things off, and I'll kind of chime in. Then we'll look at some numbers of UVA game, and then we'll talk about the Big Red coming into town for an 8 p.m. Tuesday tip. All right, Nick, floor is yours.
All right, so I have a couple of things that I noticed. First thing, you saw a team that has an identity and has a culture go against a team who's slowly building one. Obviously, with Jim Boeheim retiring after 47 years and Adrian Autry coming in, he's trying to build a culture and an identity here. Where if UVA, I mean, it's Tony Bennett. So, every year they're going to play defense. They're going to move the ball. They're going to grind out games. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would imagine that out of the last 5-6 years, UVA is probably towards the bottom in pace in college basketball. That's just how they play. So that was the biggest thing that stood out to me was culture, identity, and things like that. The second thing that I really noticed is I know we've talked about it. We've harped on it. We talk about it every pod for the most part. When Syracuse needs a bucket, where do they go? That's the biggest question, right? Is when another team's on a run or you have a bad possession and turn it over and they get a transition bucket, where do you go for a go-to play or a go-to person where you can get a bucket and kind of slow things down? And right now, Syracuse doesn't have that. They don't have anybody that can do that right now. And I know everybody would probably say Judah, but I don't think that's a go-to guy right now. He's really only – oh, go ahead.
So Judah is the dude, but the problem is every person knows he's the dude. There's no plan for when he can't get what he wants. And what ends up happening is there's 8 seconds on the shot clock and he's up top and he's dribbling. Defense is set. Everybody's standing around. It's easy to help on. It's very easy to defend. And we have bigs who set ball screens, who roll, who aren't really actually a threat. So Judah has the tools, but I don't know. It's just it when you stack the deck against you that way and allow a defense to be set and to just watch you dribble around, it doesn't matter who you are. You could flip Beekman and Judah. Look at Beekman's drives. Let's do that. Look at Beekman's drives against Syracuse, which he got to the lane at will, versus Judah's, right? All of Judah's are coming from the top of the key, defense stacked. Beekman is coming off screens. He's catching the ball and ripping and going. He's kind of attacking from the elbow. We just don't do that for him. We just say, all right, go on Judah Island and save us. Go on. It's frustrating to watch because you're like, Judah, do something. But you're also like, what's the dude supposed to do? He's not in great situations here.
No, I mean, it could, like you said, it comes down to their go-to play right now is ISO Judah and go downhill and maybe you get fouled and get to the free throw line or make a crazy shot or something like that. But yeah, I mean, early in the game, Syracuse definitely had a plan going in, but I think it was just one plan. They didn't really have a plan off of that if that got stopped. But their plan early worked. They were actually very good defensively early in the game. And then kind of we mentioned it was their first true road game, their first ACC test of the year. But the rotations and bench depth and who would he play and who wouldn't he play He ended up going 9 deep again. But the rotations were, I'll put it a nice way, not very helpful in the flow of the game at the time. But like, not even the rotations that really, I mean, the rotations are the rotations. If you come in, you got to play. At the end of the day, you're the. I understand coaches are X and O's guys, but at the end of the day, it's the people on the court that really make or break a game. So like, that didn't really bother me as much. The offense, the standing around, the especially against a defense like Virginia, you got to move the ball as well as move yourself. So you got to set screens for each other, even if you don't have the ball. You got to cut. You got to. If you're just standing still and watching Judah go 1-on-1, then the defense shrinks in. So now Judah's technically going 1-on-5 with 4 guys on the outside who are just standing still. And most of them, for the most part, can't shoot.
Yeah.
So, like, it doesn't really help at the end of the day. But obviously in the second half, UVA put their will on Syracuse. We could do nothing offensively, defensively. It didn't matter. It was UVA just dominated the second half of that game.
Yeah, it was desperation mode, and it was obvious. And that's when they really put their foot on your throat. That's what they do. Yeah, so I think that was a big part of that too. It just, that the only way Syracuse can come back is if they score from outside. So if you just suffocate them on the perimeter, there's no hope. Did you have more? Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I'm gonna pull up stats for the game, so you can go real quick.
Yeah. So I mean, the start of the game, like you said, Nick. I mean, I feel like it wasn't super aggressive, but it was something, right? It was a lot of the ball. The ball was changing sides a lot. There's kind of some attempts at drives. They weren't forcing things up if they got stuck. They had some late shot clock situations. They had some nice little plays, but it was like, and I didn't love it, but it was better than what we have typically done. And then the second there was an ounce of adversity or we need a bucket, it all
crumbled. I kind of felt like we looked like a lot of our guys on offense looked like deer in headlights when that adversity hit. And like one other thing I'll say, piggybacking off of you, at the start of the game, it definitely felt like early in the game we got very good looks coming off penetration and things like that. And like, I don't know, it seems like when Syracuse's shooters, Justin Taylor, Chris Bell, like they're knockdown shooters that they need, it seems like when they miss open shots early, it gets in their head and they kind of shy away from shooting that same shot again, or they pass up good looks.
There were a couple that I was like, Taylor, are you going to shoot the ball, dude? Like, I was like, just shoot it.
That's why you're out there.
Yeah, shoot it, man. Yeah. So I thought the rotations and substitution patterns were pretty bad. I don't think. And again, I like Claudia Copeland in his game. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't think when UVA is on a 6-7-0 run, inserting Copeland into the game is the solution. When the crowd is going like that's not the time. That's not it, right? And then like leaving them in for so long and like just the turnover, like you don't put a turnover prone type guy in there when the momentum is shifting. Like, so like more turnovers happened. I was disappointed when it looked like there was literally zero plan for when the ball would go into the post. None. It was like they had never watched UVA film before or like even worked on it remotely in practice. Like, because when the ball went into Naheem in the post like twice, it was like everybody in the country knows what UVA does in the post. They double.
Well, it's crazy.
It so like everyone's confused.
The first time they threw it into him, he caught it. Obviously he's 7'4", so like he can hold the ball up pretty high for the most part. But like he caught it and the double came, and like there was like 3 or 4 seconds where he was looking around for somebody to move, and everybody was just standing there staring at him. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like we did nothing. Like again, and this is what irritates me is I watched them play Wisconsin, deliberate, intentional plan. When the ball went into the post, They had guys on the backside back cutting. They had bigs filling. They had a plan, right? When I go and watch Syracuse play, it's like, okay, well, good luck, Naheem. Make a play, buddy. Like that's what's frustrating to me. And I'm not saying they didn't work on it. Maybe Naheem just completely lost his mind. Maybe they all forgot. I don't know. But I do know when I watch other teams play that they have game plans and strategies, and they still turn it over, and teams still do bad things. But it's not catch it, throw it over, back up over on my heels, and just pick six layup, right? It's okay. Hey, look, when the ball goes in here, Malik, you're going to cut. There's a plan. It just didn't feel like there was. It didn't look like there was any of that. The 2 or 3 times it went in there, which is like really baffling to me, like personally, like that. That's one of the things that bothered me maybe the most.
And one thing I'll say is when the first 13, 14, 15 minutes of the game, when Syracuse was hanging around, I think at one point it was 17-17 before UVA kind of went on that crazy run to end the first half. One thing we talked about was ball screens and how UVA kind of hedges you way out. And early on, Syracuse had a plan for that. And it worked. And I'll say it worked to an extent where they got good looks off of it. They didn't hit them, but they got good looks.
It didn't not work.
And then it seemed like when Naheem went out, obviously there's speculation where he kind of hurt his hand a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it seemed like when Naheem went out and Malik came in, they just stopped looking at the 5-man, who in this case would be Malik. And Malik is a better playmaker in that situation than Naheem would be. So the fact that we looked at Naheem but didn't look at Malik, it's like, well, now that we have Malik in, let's change our whole game plan and not do what was working to where we at least got open looks. Against UVA, you have to you're not going to get many open looks throughout a game. So the few you do get, you have to capitalize on. And Syracuse just didn't do that.
No, they didn't. I mean, and they had some good shots earlier that could have been obviously helpful to give them a little bit more of a buffer and a gap there. They just didn't make the plays. But yeah, I agree with that on the ball screen stuff too. It's just like, and okay, so consistency. All right, consistency. And I hate to harp on UVA because UVA is not the best team in the country, right? They might be one of the best programs in the country as far as how they do things, but UVA is consistent, up 20, down 20, up 2, down 2, consistent. This is what we're going to do. Syracuse, after the first turnover, everything went out the window. It was like everything was gone. Like, oh, well, we got to do something. Like everything was gone. Like the whole thing was just completely tossed as soon as they got down by 2 or 3 possessions. And that's part maturity on the roster. That's part coaching. That's part program. That's part culture. But that was the thing that was kind of staggering about me, right? Because I did watch UVA go down by 20 to Wisconsin. Same team, did the same stuff. Nothing different, right? That's who we are. This is how we play. And I don't know that Syracuse knows who they are. I don't know if Red knows who they are. And obviously there's a grace period, obviously, for that and figuring it out. But I don't know. It doesn't feel a lot when it hits the fan. It doesn't feel any different to me.
So one big thing I noticed that I know I kind of mentioned earlier, but for the Syracuse team, it seems like a lot of good teams in college basketball. I mean, we've lost 3 games this year, and we lost to 3 potential Elite 8, at least Sweet 16 teams, right? And the difference to me seems like when things aren't going right, every team has something to fall back on. UVA has their defense. Gonzaga has Nemhart and they're kind of their big Watson and Graham Ike. And then Tennessee, you have your guards and things like that. So Syracuse right now is when things go bad, what is that one thing that you can fall back on, whether it's defensively, whether it's offensively, whether it's ball movement, whether it's pressing and kind of getting up into teams? What is that one thing that can hold you over until you get the rest of it going? And right now, Syracuse doesn't have anything.
Yeah, no, it doesn't exist.
And I still feel like Red is trying to figure out lineups and what guys work with each other. But like at this point now, we're 8 games into the season, and I still feel like we haven't figured out like a lineup to. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing in college basketball period, is you're 5 that close a game in a close game, right? What are the 5 guys you trust on the court in a close game to finish it? And like right now, I don't know what 5 I would put on the court as a coach for Syracuse. I mean, obviously, Judah and JJ are probably going to be the guards in that situation, but like, it just feels like we haven't figured out a 5 that like kind of your go-to lineup where when you're struggling or something, you put these 5 in and they kind of get things rolling.
Yeah. Which brings up the point to me that like everybody on Twitter, everybody in Syracuse world, oh, this roster has so much talent. Does it though? Does it? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just doesn't. Maybe they just aren't that as good as we think they are, or they don't fit. Like maybe they just don't. Maybe they just aren't. Like
on paper, yes, they have talent, but that doesn't mean it. But that doesn't mean anything on the court. Because listen,
comparatively, do they?
If I told you before the game started that Syracuse bench would score 27 points in this game, you'd be like,
garbage time.
No, I know, but I'm saying you'd be like, okay, if your bench can give you 27, then that's a good positive in any game this season moving forward. But like when your starters play as bad as they did, you had 13 points combined between Chris, Justin, and Judah. Mm-hmm. It's not going to get it done in any game. I don't care who you play. You could play Niagara, and it's not going to get it done. You could go play Chaminade again, and if you 3 score 13 points, you may win that game, but you're winning that game close, and you got to pull it away in the end. So, like, obviously their starters didn't play great at all. Neither one of the 3 played more than 28 minutes in that game. But like your starters didn't play good. Obviously your bench played good in garbage time. But yeah, I mean, they got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out quick. As well.
Yeah, I agree. Quick is that is imperative at this point. I don't really know what else to add to that beyond yes. The last thing I'll say 2 more things. I'll say 3 more things actually. Quickly. 1, just ditch the 2-3 inbounds, please. Like, just can we stop playing zone in the inbounds? Like, just stop. Like, throw it out. Like, teams are either UVA gets a dunk on it. Like, either just do something different. It's not working. It's not working.
My thing is with the 2-3 in general.
When you know it's coming, it's not effective.
Obviously, it's something that Syracuse is not just going to fully go away with. But, like, if you look at last year and you look at how bad the 2-3 zone was and how bad we were as a 3-point shooting defense and things like that and rebounding, which we're pretty bad at this year too as well. 3 of the guys in the starting 5 were part of that team last year that was very bad on the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. So, like, playing the 2-3 with the same people, it's not new people and it's not a new system. So, like, it's just like it's that saying where you try things and you hope for a better outcome. You're not going to get the better outcome right now. So either stick with man-to-man, throw in some press, but like the 2-3, you got it. I mean, you can switch it up maybe and go kind of like a 3-2 or things like switch it up, but like the 2-3 is not working. And I don't think it's worked at all when they've used it this season. So like you said, especially on inbounds, ditch it because guys get screened and nobody helps in this team.
Has it positively impacted the game in any way whatsoever? I know Red said what that one game, thank goodness, that wasn't really what even happened though. And that's what also is alarming to me.
That was the Colgate game, wasn't it, when they came back?
Yeah. And then when they just missed everything. This is what's alarming to me about, and I don't want to harp on Red, but like this is what's alarming to me is that he says things that when I watch the game, I'm like, that's not actually what happened during the game. Like there was one game where he said that we rebounded really well, and they got out rebounded by 8 at the half, and he's like, we were rebounding well. Everybody's like,
that was LSU.
It's like, what? right? And then like he'll just say things, and I'm like, that's not really what's happening. And I'm not saying I know more than Red, but like I'm watching the game and I'm like, are we? And I know watching the game from the bench on the floor is different than watching it from TV, and I understand all that stuff. But it just kind of is just like, oh yeah, so and so played well, and I'm like, they did? Like, this is just a kind of weird. I've just kind of picked up on that a couple of times this year. I'm like, I'm not sure that's actually what's going down. So I don't know. Maybe that's nothing. Maybe that's just a me thing. But anyway, just that man-to-man is like massively overhelping. Like we said in the pre-show, we were like, you either got to like stay on shooters and make Beekman score 25 and make him make tough shots, which is what I think they should have done. I think they should have hugged out on defenders on the perimeter and made Beekman make tough shots and make shots over help. But instead, they allowed Beekman to just, do his thing. And it was just three ball, wide open in Division I standards. Like
McNeely hit more threes
yeah.
than Syracuse did as a team.
Yeah, and he made one or two tough ones. The rest of them were not very tough.
Two of them I remember.
He had one really nasty step. Like, one was really
one of them I remember, Justin Taylor was on him. It was early in the game. And, like, he did a very weak ball fake. And, like, Justin jumped at it, and he kind of sidestepped over and hit a three. Like, I harp on this at every level that I've coached. I've been around, things like that. You're not blocking a three-point shot in basketball. The odds of blocking
if you are, that team is terrible, and you're going to beat them anyway.
Yeah. So, like, why do we jump at three-point shooters in the first place? Stay down and contest as they shoot.
Beekman, 8 assists, no turnovers.
They out-assisted us 21-10.
Yeah, they had 21 assists on 30 made shots.
They shot almost 55% from the field goals and 57% from three-point range.
Yeah, and good shots too.
And then you look at Syracuse, and like Chris Bell was 2 of 9, 1 of 5 from 3. Justin was 1 of 6, 1 of 6 from 3. Judah 2 of 8, 0 of 2 from 3. So like,
but think about the quality of shot difference.
Yeah,
too.
Syracuse's shots are mid-range, contested.
Yeah, hard. They're hard.
Difficult.
Just like we said last year, they are hard shots. They're not high percentage shots. And all right, so piggyback on what you said a little bit earlier about, well, if I would have said the bench had 20, if I would have told you Syracuse scored 64, you'd probably feel pretty good.
62.
60, yeah, if I would have told you Syracuse scored 62, you'd be like, oh, okay.
We said first to 60 wins this game.
Well, we weren't first to 60, but we were saying people were like, oh, will we score 50? Will we score 50? Yeah, 62 is great. Now when you give up 84 to Virginia, 84 to the slowest paced team in America. That's wild. That's wild. All right, let me look at some last little bit here, and then we'll talk about Cornell real quick. All right, so let's talk about Syracuse statistically for the season now. After this one, they are 106 on Ken Palm. Okay, the top 100 was nice for a little bit. They're 106 Ken Palm. They have the 119th most efficient offense, the 105th most efficient defense. Tempo's at 45th now.
But you see what I'm saying? Like when I mentioned how other teams have something to fall back on, our offensive and defensive efficiency are like middle of the pack.
We're not great
at either.
We're not great at anything. Like our highest stat is turnover percentage. We're 43rd in the country. So we're turning teams over, right? Other than that, like nothing. We're turning teams over and we're keeping them off the line.
Do we get to the free throw line a lot or no? Not really.
We're 236th at getting to the line.
Okay.
All right. Oh, okay. We're 287th at effective field goal percentage, 126th at taking care of the ball, 214th at getting offensive rebounds, 236th at getting to the free throw line, 296th from 3, 251st from 2. And those are like atrocious offensive numbers.
And I will say this respectfully. If this season, I'll just put it this way. It's very early. We're 8 games in. There's a lot of basketball left to be played. But If these trends of the season keep going throughout the season,
long January.
It's going to be a long season. But I also will tell you to expect to possibly see a I don't want to say a whole new revamp roster next year, but like expect to see changes because
that's coming regardless.
Reds trying to build something, and if guys can't really buy in or things like that, and I'm not saying these guys aren't buying in at all. I'm just saying we have 2 recruits coming in that are going to be pretty good, Donnie Freeman and Elijah Moore. You got to imagine that Judah's probably headed to the NBA unless he plays like he did against Virginia for the rest of the year. Then maybe he doesn't. But either way, book it as Judah leaving. I'd imagine JJ probably stays only because of his relationship with Adrian Autry and he's kind of home. But like the rest of the guys on the roster, I just don't know. You don't really know. Like Chris Bell's had some great games, but Chris Bell's also had some very poor games. Justin Taylor, he's been great in every aspect this season outside of shooting the ball, which is why he's on the floor. Benny, personally, I would not be surprised if Benny hits the transfer portal during the season, not after the season, during the season. Malik's been very consistent for the most part. Again, Malik's playing the 5. He's not really a 5. But, like, I think you're going to see kind of like how do I put this? Kind of like think of Tennessee last year. How they had pieces, they just didn't have the right pieces, and they kind of went out and they added Connect, who was like great piece for them, and they like I think that's what you're going to see from Syracuse is kind of adding. They need I don't want to say this, but they need leadership and they need that experience, and they just don't have that.
Okay, again, we've had the privilege of seeing 3 programs that are really good programs in college basketball this year. Okay. And
what is the how do I want to put this? What is the common theme with all 3 of those teams that we've lost to?
What are the differences? Absolute identity, leadership, guys who can do more than one thing and aren't one-dimensional.
And I never say this because at the end of the day, you leave this program. I don't care at the end of the day, but think about where this team would be with a guy like Joe Girard who can shoot the ball and has this is his 5th year in college basketball, has that experience and things like that. And I'll never he left so that it is what it is. You can't go back. But
I would have left too.
Just think of what it would be with a guy like a leadership role and things like that.
And again, we didn't appreciate him.
No.
Everybody talked to him. Why would he stay? If he ever went on Twitter one time, why would he stay? Right.
And
now he's over here.
We won't get into it too much.
He's torching dudes.
We won't get into it too much, but you got to realize Joe Girard played at Syracuse for 4 years. 3 of the 4 years, Joe Girard played out of position to help Jim Boeheim because we didn't have a point guard. When you saw him finally move off the ball and play shooting guard, you saw a different Joe Girard because that's what he is. He's a guy that comes off screens and catches and shoots and things like that. Yeah. And he's not a point guard. He can't lead a team. That's not who he is.
No, it's not. When you see him play on a team that has other good players like Clemson does,
go watch Clemson's game last night against Pitt and watch what happened.
Watch Chase Hunter play. Watch PJ Hall. Like when he actually has like somebody who can go who you can throw the ball to inside. Like it blows my mind that this program doesn't have a center who can score with his back to the basket. It blows my mind that you can't get one big to come to Syracuse who can actually score and go get a rebound and defend. Like Naheem does good things at times, but it baffles me that the only guy we can get is a backup 7'4" guy who didn't play at Florida State who was terrible last year. Like that's is that where we are? Like,
the last time Syracuse had a true big who could do different things on the floor was probably Rakeem Christmas, and that was a year that we were NCAA tournament ineligible.
Yeah. So I don't know. All right, so let's let's talk Cornell. All right, so Cornell is 7-1. They haven't played anybody. Their one loss was to, let me pull it up here. The one loss was to the best team on their schedule, which is George Mason. They lost that one 90-83. George Mason is ranked 96 in Ken Pom, which is better than Syracuse. They have wins over 286 Lehigh by 6, 167 Fordham, which is a decent win by 5. They beat Cal State Fullerton by 18. They beat 190 Utah Valley by 13. They beat 235 Monmouth by 4. And they beat 331 Lafayette by 8. So they're winning, but they're not really dominating in any fashion. They are scoring a bunch of points: 84, 107, 78, 90, 88, 74, 91, 79. So they're scoring a bunch. The lowest output so far has been 74 points in the game for them. They're coming in with the 55th most efficient offense, but the 227th most efficient defense. So they're actually defensively a lot worse than Syracuse. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game.
Some team stats.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on. They're also 32nd in tempo, and Syracuse is in the top 50 in tempo. So I think it's going to be a really fast paced game against two teams that we don't have a decent offense, but we'll have a decent offense against Cornell. Right? Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So some team stats, ESPN per ESPN analytics. So like you mentioned, points per game, Cornell's averaging 85.5 points per game on the season right now. But points against is 77. They're shooting 51% from the field and 37% from 3. They average 18 assists a game and 7.8 steals. So
you better put a muzzle on that thing. Yeah. So things that stand out for me when I look at them and compare them to Syracuse. When we look at stat comparisons, first off, Ken Pom has Syracuse winning this thing 85-81 at a 64% chance. So Cornell is 15th in effective field goal percentage. Syracuse is 207th in defending that. And here's a big Syracuse advantage, right? Turnover rate, Cornell is 312th in the country at turning it over. They do not take care of the ball. And Syracuse is top 50 in forcing turnover. So I think Cornell's probably going to cough it up a lot. They're going to play fast and turn it over, which is kind of what they do. They don't offensive rebound super well. They get to the line decently. They're the second highest 2-point percentage shooting team in the country, which is interesting. It's weird. They have the second highest percentage from 2, but they get most of their points from 3. So they're not they make, and maybe that's because they force turnovers and they run and score in that way. But they're shooting way better from 2 than 3, but they get most of their points from 3. So expect a lot of threes. They are 12th. Okay, 12th in the country in 3-point attempts to field goal attempt ratio. So that means they are firing away. 47.8% of their shots are from 3. So there's going to be a lot of threes taken in this one. Other things that maybe stand out, I mean, the Cornell defense is bad. It's worse than ours. They don't force
basically what you're saying is if Syracuse can't be an efficient offense on Tuesday night, then we have major problems.
This is the night. Now, and here's a not good thing. Cornell does have the 50th best 3-point defense. And Syracuse has the 296th best 3-point shooting team in the country right now, which is
So basically get to the rim, put your head down, and attack.
I think there's going to be a lot of that. Tonight. I think they'll press a little bit. I think they'll do, again, I haven't had a chance to watch them yet, and I probably won't get to. But I think there's going to be, a fun game. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of tempo. I think there's going to be a lot of offensive skill on display. Cornell plays, I think, 6 or 7 guys for 20 minutes a game. So there will be moving guys in and out. I think 9 guys play 10 plus minutes for them on average. And they're going to fire away. And I really don't know what to expect. And this is the best, analytically speaking, Cornell team in a while. I mean, last year they finished 138th last year. They finished 193rd the year before, 220th the year before that, 270. So they're getting progressively better every year. And this is probably the highest ranked team they've had in the last 4 or 5 years. So
their leading scorer is Sean Hansen. He's a 6'9" forward. He's a senior. He averages 12.4 points per game. Their second scorer is Cooper Nord. He's a 6'2" sophomore guard who averages 11.9 a game. So they're kind of relatively close. And then they have their other guard, Chris Manon. He's a 6'5" guard, senior. He averages 10.8. So they're kind of if you look at points per game, I mean, you got 12.4, 11.9, 10.8, 9.9, 9.6, and 8.9. So 6 guys are between 9 and 12 points. So they spread the ball. It's not really a one guy type of team. They spread the ball. They can all score if needed. They're not, like you mentioned, their leading rebounder is Guy Ragland. He's 6'8". So they go 6'8" and 6'9" at their forward spots. So Syracuse definitely will have the size advantage in a game like this. But they share the ball. They can all pass. There's looking at their stats, there's 5 guys who average at least 2 assists a game. So they move the ball, they cut. It's going to be like watching Cornell, or Colgate, but without the height. They just don't have the height Colgate has, but they move the ball. They're efficient on offense. They can shoot. So it's definitely I won't say it won't be a easy game for Syracuse, but it's definitely a game that Syracuse should win at the end of the day. But
it's an interesting matchup. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what to expect too much to go into this. Like I said, when you play a team that shoots 47% of their shots from 3, that's a recipe for you winning by 15 or losing by 15, right? They get hot, they shoot well, and you're in trouble. They don't shoot well, you kind of roll and cruise. They're also top 70 in assists per field goals made. So they're sharing, like you said, they're sharing the ball a lot. A lot of their made shots are assisted. In comparison, right? So Syracuse right now, they're 45% of their made shots are assisted. That's 248th in the country.
Yeah, and when you look at this team, that number should definitely be higher.
Guys gotta make shots, man. It's a whole thing, but we don't have time for that. But so Colgate again coming in here. This is the typically this would be the biggest game on Colgate's schedule, but they play number 6 Baylor in January. They play number 51 Princeton twice. They play number 91 Yale twice. So we're probably the 6th most important game on their schedule, which is I'll just leave that there for that to percolate for some people. That's all I really got on them. Unfortunately, like I said, I haven't seen them play yet, but I do know there's going to be a lot of shuffling of guys in and out, and they play pretty quick. So we'll see how it goes. Syracuse, a short kind of turnaround. Hopefully they have ironed some things out, and we have an idea of a game plan for this one and what they kind of come out and do and see what they're trying to accomplish. And hopefully the goal is each game gets a little bit better. Each game gets a little more consistent. And that's what I'm looking for, is to see, who these guys are and how they respond to their 3rd SmackDown of the year. It was just funny. It was like all the other games except the SmackDown happened earlier, right?
Tennessee and Gonzaga, you hung around till 5-6 minutes in the second half.
But if you were at Tennessee or Gonzaga, you probably wouldn't have hung around as much either. It was on a neutral floor, so that helped. But if those games are at Tennessee and at Gonzaga, with crowd and stuff, they probably would have fallen apart like they did in this one. So take that with a grain of salt. Just
to recap, last year, Syracuse beat Cornell 78-63 in the Dome. Hansen, their leading scorer this year, had 11 points and 7 rebounds against Syracuse in 23 minutes. But as a team, Cornell shot 13 of 48 from 3. They hit 13, but they shot 27%. They had a couple guys, one of their guys went 2 of 9, another one went 1 of 8, another one went 0 of 8, and then a fourth guy went 4 for 11. So they definitely shot the three. They hit 13, but they shot 48 of them. And then some Syracuse stats. Chris Bell played 28 minutes, had 13 points, 5 rebounds. Benny had 12 and 5 and played 36 minutes. Judah had 14 points, 4 assists, was 6 of 16 from the field, so he kind of forced a lot of shots. Joe had 19. He was the leading scorer. He's not here anymore, but Malik had 13 minutes, 4 points, 4 rebounds. And Justin Taylor played 7 minutes, had 1 assist and no shots. And then Quadir played 4 minutes, had 2 points and 1 rebound. So
this was that game where Syracuse went on like that huge second half run where they missed like 15, 16 shots in a row. Cornell did. Syracuse went on a 13-2 run from the first and the second half, and then like it went on a 20-2 run. So it was kind of close, and then you kind of blew it open there with that 20-2 run, as most teams would.
And so here you go. It was 45-43 Syracuse with about 16 minutes left in regulation before Syracuse Orange went on a 20-2 run to go up by 20.
Yeah, and I remember them just like missing shot after shot after shot after shot because they were open shots because it was against the zone. Okay, so they were open shots, but it was just one of those good days because Cornell beat Boston last year, I think, coming into the game and took Miami like down to the wire in the early season. So it was one of those kind of high alert games, and then they just kind of were really super cold against Syracuse. So, all right, Cornell 8 p.m. tip. Tuesday night, got a later game than usual. After this one, Syracuse will prep for a noon tip in DC against Georgetown, who got royally screwed in a game this week, and nobody here really feels bad about it. So after that matchup,
they tip Saturday at 11:30 a.m.
Oh, okay. There you go. 11:30 tip. That's cool too, I guess. After Georgetown, Syracuse gets an 8-day break, I'm guessing for finals and exams. Then they'll be in the Midwest in a neutral game against Oregon, who is currently 47th in Ken Pom. Then they get 4 days off and play 313th Niagara on the same day as the bowl game, which will probably be a pretty empty dome, no students bowl game. And then they get 9 days off, and they play on New Year's Eve against Pittsburgh at home. Pittsburgh's currently 57th in the country. And then they get to start the new year 3 days later in Durham against Duke. So it gets real quick here.
The one positive thing for their ACC schedule, they get Duke and North Carolina both on the road within their first 4 games of ACC play.
It's very top-heavy early. There's a very decent chance that Syracuse starts ACC play 0-4, 0-3. Sorry, they got to get that Boston win. But yeah, January's tough, but February is very manageable.
You don't think they can beat Pitt?
Well, Pitt's 57th right now in Ken Pom. What would make you think we can beat Pitt?
Have you watched them play yet?
Have you watched Syracuse play yet?
Yeah, yeah,
dude. Like
no, they're literally like the same team.
Except they're doing things better than we are.
Yeah, I mean, they numbers wise, yes, but if you watch them physically on the floor, it's the same team.
Well, that should be a blast. Then that should be a great time.
Pitt kind of goes stretches without scoring and things like there could be stretches in this game of 5-6 minutes where you don't see a bucket.
Well, they still have the 65th best offense in the country, so
that's even more remarkable that they're at that high.
Yeah. Well, they play West Virginia on Wednesday, so that'll be a good gauge. They got West Virginia. They got West Virginia, Canisius, South Carolina State, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and then Syracuse. So they've already lost. They've lost to Florida. They've lost to Missouri. They lost to Clemson.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here before we end this, and I'm gonna say that I know it's very early in the season, but Tuesday night at 8:00 kind of feels like Syracuse needs to win this game. You cannot afford to drop Cornell and go 5-4.
Considering the alternative, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll never put a must win on a game this early in the season, but it feels like they need this.
it depends what your must is for. If your must is for the NCAA tournament, if that's still a pipe dream that you have, then you can't lose this game. Like,
no, I mean, I think I truthfully, I think Syracuse will figure it out as the season goes on, and they'll go on a mini run in the ACC and get some wins, and they'll be on a bubble when the selection Sunday comes around. They'll definitely be on the bubble, but they're too air quote talented.
People keep saying those words, but again, we'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
And I know it. And I will say, I know it was garbage time and things like that, but it was nice to see JJ kind of get going a little bit. But like you said, even up 20, you knew Virginia wasn't going to like slack off or anything. So just to see JJ kind of hit some shots and have that confidence is definitely a positive moving forward. If you're going to take any positives from a 22-point blowout loss to Virginia, it'd probably be JJ and the fact that Malik had a really good game. So.
Could have been 30-35. Honestly, could have been 30-35.
No, their largest lead of the game was
32, right? Yeah, so exactly. So, all right, well, that's it from us. We will see how the Orange come out on Tuesday night against Cornell. And as we start to hit these last couple games before the ACC stretch gets into full swing. On behalf of Nick Peckham, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out with us. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things you do. And we'll see you guys on either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning for the Cornell recap. And then we'll see you for the Georgetown preview coming up on Saturday. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you later.
Thank you.